Both the Pretoria and Johannesburg leg of the national strike pulled quite a crowd as hundreds of workers joined in on the nationwide protest. Demonstrators handed over their memorandum of demands to the National Treasury headquarters. We're joined by Cosatu President Zingiswa Losi. Good evening, Ms. Losi. It's a pleasure to have you on. Firstly, it's always hard to gauge the success of a strike, right? So you yourselves as unions would be looking at certain things that would let you know if in fact you've accomplished your mandate. What are some of those things that you're looking at tonight that you perhaps are looking at and thinking, this is what we set out to do and we've done it?
Thank you very much, Cathy, for having me, and greetings to your followers. Look, what we have managed to do as an assessment, and I know tomorrow we'll be going deeper into that, but the fact that for the first time Cosatu has decentralized its marches across a province and across the country. Here in Gauteng we had 3 marches, and so as in different provinces, and the attendance, it was overwhelming. It was more than what we had expected. Secondly, it is the fact that for the first time in the history of the trade union movement, when Cosatu is turning 35, Cosatu has lived to its 13th National Congress resolution of bringing together workers in this country. And you would have noticed and seen that our marches were supported and attended by SAFTU with its affiliates, FEDUSA and NAFTU. Those are other 3 federations that are recognized in South Africa, alongside with ourselves as a federation, Cosatu. For us, that is a huge milestone that says that indeed, when workers are united, anything is possible.
I'm going to be a bit cheeky here and say, would Cosatu have been able to have the kind of impact that you had today without the support of these other unions? Because over the years, of course, we've been watching you dwindle in terms of the numbers of representative of workers that you're actually representing.
Cosatu would have still pulled the marches as we have done. Cathy, you would remember that every time Cosatu goes on the streets, we always pull numbers. And it is because it is not just the federation itself, numbers dwindling does not necessarily mean that when Cosatu makes a call, because that call is a decision that is made by workers that are affiliated to the federation. It is not a call that is made by national officials of the federation. And therefore, workers, when they make that call, they make a call understanding the reasons why workers should be embarking on such an action. And they would then respond accordingly to the action that they have committed themselves onto. And I can say that, the demonstrations of today for us demonstrate the unity that is critical for workers in our country. And we understand that Cosatu is the biggest federation. So numbers that you would have seen are more numbers that are coming from Cosatu itself, because Cosatu is the biggest federation even when others are combined. But today was not about that. Today was about saying, workers unite, you have nothing to lose but the chains that are engulfing you in the workplace. The issues of corruption, the issues of gender-based violence, the issues of health and safety, and the issues of undermining the collective bargaining, both by the private and the public sector. These are the issues that we wish all of us would focus on, than rather pulling the numbers in terms of which federation is bigger than which one, because employers are not looking into those issues.
What does it say to you, the fact that somebody you consider as a key stakeholder, the finance minister, Tito Mboweni, was a no-show today? Do you accept the excuse that he was presenting at the cabinet Lekgotla?
We did not get exactly why he was not there, because other ministers also said they are coming from the Lekgotla. And when you deal with Minister Tito, and it is not my view, but it is the view of workers in this country, and not just workers, I think just society at large, that he has always chosen to engage on Twitter than to really engage workers where the platform is created at most times. And when he is part of the meeting, you would have a view that, for an example, when we engage at the level of Netleg, you will have a different view that Netleg is not a legally constituted entity, and therefore decisions that are taken at Netleg are not binding to government, or are decisions that even cabinet should not even consider. So you are dealing with a minister, as we define him, that at times believes that Treasury is government, but Treasury is part of government, and Treasury is not government. And we hope that that attitude is an attitude that any minister that comes in must understand, that even beyond Minister Tito Mboweni, we expect Treasury to understand and appreciate that it is part of government, but it is not government on its own.
You talk about any minister that comes in beyond Tito Mboweni. Do you have reason to believe that he might not be a minister for much longer?
Well, I'm not necessarily saying that, but I'm just saying that we have had all these experiences way before him, that ministers that come in at the level of Treasury, they always tend to move away from what the decisions of the cabinet would have been. And we think that the mandate, whether it is the mandate that the Treasury is dealing with, but to us it becomes problematic because at times they put issues of the IMF, the World Bank, and others outside our country to be the ones that would be determining how South Africa's economy is going to look like and which direction it's supposed to take, and less of what South Africans need and demand for their own economy.
So effectively, you're not necessarily hearing each other out with the ministers. And if I'm hearing you correctly, there seems to be an issue of getting the right kind of audience with him to ensure that the issues that you're raising are things that he too can understand and perhaps even take on as a fight alongside workers.
Indeed, Cathy, but you know, sometimes you don't know how long does it take for a person to understand what is said. Because sometimes it is issues of egos. You know, when you place an ego at the table before the issues that are at the table, you would then tend to respond to how you feel than what are the issues that are at the table. And we sometimes find that we have certain ministers that would make things to be about themselves than the issues that are at the table. As an example is the fact that when we sit at the level of Netleg, we have social partners there. Government is represented, business, labor, and civil society. But when you have ministers that would attend at some point in time at the level of Netleg, either they don't understand the processes at Netleg and what Netleg is about, or they think that when they are there, things are about themselves and not about the issues that are there at Netleg. Even when the president would have been very clear of what is an expected outcome of the processes that should be unfolding at the level of Netleg, you would find ministers still wanting us to still understand what the president has said, meaning that when the president has spoken to them, they could have been thinking about whether they themselves as individuals are in favor of what the president has said.
What you're saying effectively is that there's been active defiance. And if I'm to read you correctly, because we're talking about the finance minister, active defiance by the finance minister of instructions issued by the president.
Look, Cathy, it is not just him alone. You know, we had a session at Netleg where we were so frustrated. When ministers, firstly, ministers don't not necessarily attend Netleg. When they do attend Netleg, they would then, you will find them understanding what the issues are in the presence of the president. As soon as the president is not in the meeting, then you have ministers still wanting to understand what is it or why we are meeting at the level of Netleg, what is it that we are expected to come out with. And it gets so frustrating because you don't understand whether they would then understand issues in the presence of the president, or even when the president is there, probably they don't even understand why the meeting is taking place or why the president wants the country to go where it should be. So it is not just about the Minister of Finance, but the frustration with the Minister of Finance, and we don't want to be personal. We have always said that is a federation. We want to deal with issues, not individuals. And we have said to him, please, on issues of government and governance, we must respect the processes that exist and the fact that, yes, we may not agree on everything, but for us at times to read about decisions that will be coming when we have not even had discussion on certain issues, and those issues will be pronounced by him via his social media account, it is one thing that gets put some frustrations, to other social partners, because it tells you that a person who's supposed to be then ensuring that the decisions that have been taken are implemented had already taken a decision before even a process could happen.
I have to let you go soon, but is this part of the reason why Cosatu has decided to break ranks? Some of your leaders have recently been quoted as saying that Cosatu will be putting workers before the party. I'm assuming the tripartite alliance structure that of course you are party to, and also what we've recently seen with Cosatu not attending the NEC Lekgotla this past weekend.
Look, Cosatu's mandate in the last Congress, and I think it is the mandate that has always been given to the leaders of the Federation, that when we say we support the African National Congress, we have always said it is not a blank check. And the ANC understands this. So when we are in alliance with the African National Congress, we are not subordinated to the ANC. We do not account to the African National Congress. We have our own constituents. We follow the decisions that are taken by workers and implement those decisions. Yes, at the level of the alliance, we then sit down and we put proposal in place, including the mandate that has been given to us. But when we are not listened and when the message is not received, it does not mean that then the fight that workers must pursue gets to be sidetracked, and then we shall follow things that we do not understand. Ours is to stand with workers at all material times, because we are elected by workers in our Congress. Leaders of the alliance components are also elected in their own congresses, having their own mandate. Sure. Ours is to find that common purpose that brings the alliance together. And if we're unable to find that common purpose, the 13th National Congress of the Federation said to us that, for an example, when we speak about the alliance and the reconfiguration of the alliance, Cosatu said, if we go to the next Congress and there is no progress, Cosatu will have to take a different decision on supporting the ANC and remaining in the alliance with the African National Congress. So what we do currently, we're implementing the Congress decisions. Nothing else, nothing more. On the NEC...
Unfortunately, I'm going to have to end it there, Ms. Losi. We've completely run out of time for this interview. Cosatu President Zingiswa Losi there.